is simply where a group of people came together and they created something they probably couldn't even imagine they were going to be part of, but because they were part of it, it was even more spectacular than the thing that they thought they were going to create in the first place. I promise you that kind of makes sense. But the point really is that as a community comes together, something magical happens. And by challenging archaic business strategy, and this is a slide I show all the time, and I promise this is not aimed specifically at this one corporation. But the great thing about this slide is the corporation who advertised this way is telling us what the entire marketing feat campaign and aspirations has been of every corporation that's ever marketed to anybody. And that is, they want people to buy stuff on their own. If just 3 of those houses were on the same little world, the way people bought stuff would be different. But the way a corporation interacts with its marketplace is, or in its preferred choice, is to do it on its own. So this is your little world, and we'd like to work with you. And there's somebody else's little world over there, but don't worry, we're working on that. So when you flip that model, and that's the absolute thing that you do, when you change that, the really interesting thing, and this is completely and utterly going to flip people's heads, is the corporation can actually become the community. Because think about it, the corporation, and let's take that one for example, has an extraordinary amount of people working for it who are a community. And so when that corporation gets deeply entrenched in the whole concept of community buying, you can flip the model and create them to be a community too. Okay, let's go back to our poll, having said all that. Let's start again, all right, and let's go with corporation or community. I have the results from the first one. I'm going to ask, having just read that, if you're going to continue with the same answer. So, who is the most fit for survival? And off we go. We're going to launch it first. So, you should be seeing the same question. Who do you think is most fit for survival? All right. What's really interesting is that, okay, an instant change. I'm watching that's quite spectacular. Okay, I'm about to close a vote and I'm going to show you the result. Okay. The first poll, the community came out at 31%, the corporation at 25%, and we had 41% not sure. And this is this poll. I'm now going to show you, I hope. Are you now seeing that? Brilliant. You're seeing that we've now got 80% saying the community are fit as survival and 20% of not sures. I don't doubt for a second there would be a few not sures, given the attendee list has some representatives from some very large and impressive corporations. So I thank you all so far for your votes. Let me show you another picture, which is quite extraordinary. This is why, okay? This is why the community is going to come out on top. And that is that the community and the corporation are literally vying for the same space, you'd think. The same air, the same breath, the same oxygen, the same ground in which they grow. But here's the thing, is that the community is never going to go away. So if you brought a group of people together to buy something, to do any of those things that I mentioned, but also to buy something, and you then go and market that group, because that's what you're doing. You're taking into the middle ground that group to the corporation. You can actually decide whether you want to work with that corporation, not the other way around. If the corporation says, no, I don't, you move on to the next one. And what really happens is that actually you don't begin a battle. You actually create a friendship, a relationship, and you begin to shake hands. Now, as the roots would suggest, that might not always be out in the open. But believe me, I work extraordinarily closely, and community buyers do, with the corporations they work with for a very obvious reason. It's a really clever business model. Excuse me. It's a really pure business model. Benefits everybody. Everybody benefits in the process of community buying. Therefore, there would be agreement. So, moving on from one of my favorite slides, this is the question. I know you're going to have lots of questions. I'm going to list all the questions that were asked at the last, or the particularly relevant ones that I get asked an awful lot at the last webinar with Locality, which occurred last week. and I'm going to come and talk about that in a second. It outlines lots of case studies of exactly how people are saving money in their community and buying. So these are the questions, and if you have a wander through these might answer all the things you want answered in the next 15 minutes. And I'm going to cover all of these. But you have a question box. You are very welcome to add some more, which we will try and cover. As I'm very delighted that Chrissy is back, by the way, and your sound is working. We will do our very best to cover any other questions. And at the end of this, we're going to have a question and answer session, which you will receive a guest attendee invite to come and join in with, which will be post the session and not part of it. So we can close off, do our survey, move on to a question and answer session. So I guarantee the next 15 minutes we'll cover all of these questions. And I won't get the thing that lots of people say to me is that I come to your talks, I come to your workshops, I go away buzzed up, and then I walk away and go, I've forgotten where I start. Okay, we knew we had to answer two sides of one question. Simple as that. How do we get started? What do we do? It doesn't matter if you're a corporation on one side wanting to work with the community, if you're a community working on one side wanting to work with corporations or wanting to work with community buying, it doesn't matter. You are actually two sides of the same question. So we designed a roadmap. Now this is a roadmap. It's a pretty damn simple one, but it gets me from my office to my lunch, okay? There is an absolute guaranteed nailed on best way to get me from my office to my lunch and clearly my lunch back to my office. Now, there are all sorts of other ways to get me from my office to my lunch, but chances are that I won't want to take them because I might have to go down a river, across a different road, around a green, through a football pitch, which is muddy, etc. There is a route that works. I guess you're getting the point. We're about to give you a route that works. The roadmap that takes us, this roadmap takes us to a meeting place, okay? It's called Mazitas for a reason. It's Greek for group. It's Greek for coming together, okay? Imagine a place, therefore, if you are somebody who wants to organize their community, if you already organize a community, or if you want to go to a community that has become organized, it's a key word you may have gathered. Imagine a place where all of your information meets, okay? Uniting every single piece of data you've got. Now, you might only have 3 pieces of data. It might be written on a napkin, or you might have 3 million pieces of data. What we have is a tool that unites everything. Now think about this. At the same time, what about uniting every piece or every avenue of social media that you use? Obviously, you might favor one over the other. You might use all of them. You might even use none of them. Bottom line is, though, those people in your community are going to use them. And this is a meeting place for all of those. Imagine, you don't have to have my face on there, by the way. Imagine you could actually, in one space, have all of those linked together. Now, moving on, the people that you're going to bring with your community, what if they need a space to do all that? What if they need what effectively is a login or a homepage, which is just theirs, and they can maybe rearrange the way they want to, and they can actually bring all of their social media and ways of interacting. But more importantly than that, design a way to get to all of the things they would normally go online to do, and they could do it from a login page that actually led and got them to your community, or came from being organized as part of your community. What about a tool that actually finally makes social media and gives it a social piece? Sorry, it finally gives social media a social purpose. Now, this, I'm pretty sure that anybody who uses any form of social media would look at it and go, that's social media. I get it. I can post something, share it. I can clearly connect to people. It seems like I can do all sorts of things. This is unique because we've already built all of that around it. We've already attached all the community buying side to it. You can actually create groups here. You can actually invite people that aren't even in your community to communicate